Now, my next guest, Caitlyn Jenner, has fit multiple lives into her 72 years. An Olympic gold medalist, the best athlete in the world, a reality TV star, a Republican candidate for California government, and one of the most famous transgender celebrities in the world. So let's cast our mind back to the summer of 1976. Jenner stormed the Montreal Olympics, winning the gold medal in the decathlon in record-breaking fashion, and with it rocketing to international stardom. Jenner married Kris Kardashian and became a household name, starring in the reality TV trailblazer Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Then in 2015, following a high-profile divorce from the Kardashian matriarch, came the moment that changed everything. After years of enduring the feeling of living in the wrong body, Bruce became Caitlyn. Well, Caitlyn has since become a vocal advocate for trans rights. However, when it comes to the hot-button issue of trans athletes, she has a very firm stance. Women's sports must be protected. The issue has been thrust back into the limelight in recent weeks as University of Pennsylvania trans swimmer Leah Thomas dominates the women's sport after previously competing on the men's team. It prompted a review of the rules by the National Collegiate Athletic Association. However, the sporting body essentially swerved, making the controversial decision by refusing to commit to a uniform policy. Well, Caitlyn isn't going to be holding back on this issue, and I'm delighted that she joins me now. Caitlyn, look, this is such a
fascinating introduction.
Well, what a life you have lived.
Introduction. Thank you. Yeah,
what a life you have lived. But I want to stick to begin with, Caitlyn, with the news of the day. And of course, this must be such a difficult one for you because you have become, I would say, the most famous trans woman in the world. At the same time, I think you have taken the very brave stance of saying we have to protect women's sport. So can you just talk to me about this Leah Thomas situation? Yeah. Because to me, it doesn't look fair, Caitlyn. It doesn't seem fair.
Well, Dan, I'm a common sense person. I have common sense. Obviously, in the case of Leah Thomas, it's not working. She's beating the women by 2 laps. Only 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago, she was on the men's team. She did all the required testosterone-depressing drugs for the last year. Technically, she is legal to compete, but I think the NCAA kind of kicked the bucket down the road. I think, to be honest with you, they got to change the rules. I am firmly behind protecting women's sports. We cannot have biological boys competing against women in women's sports. It's bad for a couple of reasons. One, it's bad for the trans community. To be honest with you, this is terrible publicity for the trans community. Like, we're taking advantage of women, okay? And it's bad, obviously, for women's sports. We need a fair playing field. And right now, if we allow this, it's not a fair playing field. There's a lot of work to be done in the future. But, you know, I use the example of I love to play golf. And I play with the ladies up at my club all the time. Honestly, they're more fun to play with than the guys. The
I can imagine that. But, much better gossip as well.
Yes, but with that said, you know, they always say, why don't you play in the ladies' tournament? And I always happen to be busy at the time and never do. Because I can hit the ball 100 yards farther than they can. I can reach all the par 5s in 2. It's just not fair. And when you do transition and you go through this, and I think in Leah Thomas's position, it's a couple of things. You have to take responsibility, okay? And you have to have some integrity. I don't know why she's doing this. I respect her right 100% to live her life authentically. But that comes with some responsibility. And I don't think she's being very responsible when it comes to something like this. I think the NCAA, when they kicked the can down the road, it was a shame. We need to take a strong stance in something like this. Because here you have Leah Thomas, and there's so few trans athletes. There's so few. And it's affecting all of women's sports. And it's just not fair.
And what the issue is, Caitlyn, is that folk like me, folk like you, who are clearly supporters of the trans community, are now being called transphobic for holding these positions. And actually, I find that really counterproductive.
Oh, I do too. You should see the heat I take. But I feel like I'm on the right side. I mean, when you have this woke world that we're living in right now, no matter what you do, they're going to come after you. And I like to stand on the side of what I think is right. And I stand on my position when it comes to trans athletes. I think it's extremely important. And but I have common sense. I can take the heat. I've been taking the heat for a long time in a lot of different subjects. You know, here I was when I did Diane Sawyer and came out. I took more heat for being a Republican than I did for being trans, which to me is very funny. But
well, that tells you something about the state of California today, doesn't it? My goodness.
Oh, it does. And I just went through, I ran for governor. We had a recall election on Gavin Newsom. And to be honest with you, I spent 6 months just working, trying to get the attention of the people of California that, you know what, we're losing California. 18,000 companies have left. We lost a congressional seat because less people live here. They're getting out. And unfortunately, we didn't win. And Gavin Newsom is still in there. This democratic political machine that we have in California with private sector unions, special interest groups is very strong, and it's tough to go up against them. And so I learned a lot. I'm going to stay involved in politics. I don't know if I'll run for another position, but I certainly will stay involved with the Republican Party and do the best we can, because especially on a national level, we're losing it. I mean, we're losing this country.
Caitlyn, how did your family feel when you told them that you were going to make this bid to be the governor and running on the Republican ticket? Because, of course, they're in the world of celebrity and the Californian world of celebrity, where it's almost assumed that you've got to be a Democrat.
Yeah. No, I've never been on the Democratic side. I've always been a moderate, what I call a moderate Republican. I'm on the Republican side because I have conservative economic values. I believe in less taxes, less regulations, a pro-business environment. And but on the social side, being a moderate, I realized that, at times government can help, okay? But you can't have one without the other. You can't help people if you don't have a thriving economy and you don't have tax revenue. As far as my family, I just went one-to-one with them and said, hey, this is what I'm doing. I don't want one thing from you. This is my deal. You guys stay out of it. And that's pretty much what we did all the way through. It was something I wanted to do. And I never looked at the family for, any help or anything like that.
No, which was very good of you.
The kids love me, and I want to leave it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. But you must have been slightly tempted, because it's like you've got Kylie, who probably has more followers than any human being on the planet. Just imagine how many votes you could have got from one endorsement. But of course, I understand why you wouldn't want to drag your family into that.
This was my deal, not my family's deal. But they were all, personally, they were all supportive. Hey, Dad, if that's what you want to do, go do it.
Caitlyn, do you have any regrets looking back at your life? Is there anything that you wish you had done differently on the path to get here? Because it has been an extraordinary journey.
It has been. I have lived the most amazing life. I've stood on top of a platform in front of the world, best athlete in the world. I have back room, got Olympic gold medal sitting in there. It's not in some Soviet room. But then on the other hand, I also have, I've been able to see the world in a very different perspective. I also have Glamour's Woman of the Year award.
Yes.
Now, Dan, that is a double. Yeah, that is a double. And, But no, I have no regrets whatsoever. I am so happy that there's so much confusion in your life when you suffer from gender dysphoria. And to be honest with you, I think if I hadn't been gender dysphoric and I was also a dyslexic kid, that when sports came around, I took it more seriously than the next person. And that drive was all about me trying to prove myself. And it took me all the way to be the best in the world at what I did. And I remember after it was over with, the next morning I got up and I looked in the mirror and the medal was on the bathroom counter and didn't have a stitch of clothes on, looked at the medal, put the medal on, looked in the mirror and said, oh my God, what did you just do? Did I build this character up so big that I'm stuck with him for the rest of my life? Because there was so much more to me than just that win. And so it has been an interesting journey, and I'm very happy with my life, and I'm happy to be in a position that I can help other people.
Well, Caitlyn, I'm so glad that you have found happiness, because you weren't happy before, were you? And so that must feel very empowering to just be able to say, I'm happy now.
I wake up in the morning and just be myself all day. No secrets. I even did a book, Secrets of My Life. And I just wake up every morning, be myself, and try to help other people and try to be a good person.
Well, look, Caitlyn, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Come back soon. Thank you so much. Former Olympian and TV star Caitlyn Jenner.